Very good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we're discussing the sixth chapter from the Stuart Close Philosophy, that is life, health, and disease. And we have started discussing this chapter since yesterday. To start with chapter, he has defined what is life, what is health, and what is disease from his own perspective. And those definition covers many aspects of the life, many aspects of the health and disease. And then he started what is exactly meant by the life. Without life, there is no existence of the human being. There is only body unless and until this life enters inside the fertilized womb, the another life never develops. And that's what the half truth which has been told by the biological science, that life comes from previous life. It's completely changed because life never completely comes from previous life. Part of it comes unless and until the life force, life principle, soul enters into fertilized womb. The new life never regenerates, and thereafter the progress happens to be there. Then the cytoplasm, the protoplasm, the cell, the tissue, everyone carries that, which starts functioning, which first defines this principle, defines the functions, and accordingly the human organism develops. And that's why there is a law of a biological development, that function creates the organ. So this introductory part which we have learned in last lecture, we were on page number 61. Let us start with the next paragraph. Agents from without which affect the living body to produce changes and modifications of its functions and sensations acts upon the protoplasm through the medium of brain and nervous system. Food, drink, heat, light, air, electricity, and drugs, as well as mental stimuli, all act primarily upon the living substance as materialized in cells of the central nervous system, calling for the reactions which are represented by functions and sensations. So, this life principle, which is there, this life in which is there in innermost core of the human being, reacts with the help of central nervous system which is formed over there. Whatever the external things are there which enters inside your body or acts on you, through the central nervous system, the body reacts. The body reacts, that is your vital principle reacts through the bodily functions, through the bodily sensations, through the bodily reactions, and that reaction is wholly centered or controlled with the help of central nervous system. This is how it works. If life is not there, even though nervous system is there, but if life is not there, animation is not there, the living thing is not there, these reactions will not happen. So ultimately, it requires basically the life principle which is reacting. It is not the nervous system is reacting. Through the nervous system, the life is reacting. This concept should be very clear in your mind. So ultimately, whatever the reaction, whether it is adaptation or whether it is a disease reaction, whatever happens is the reaction of the vital principle. So if it is adaptation, maintaining the balance, maintaining the health, then you are no more disease. But the reaction given by your vital principle is not adaptive reaction, not exactly similar to the action, and it is exactly either too much increased, either too much low, or it is perverted, then there will be a formation of a disease. So this is the reaction of the vital principle which is reacting and which is getting diseased. If it is diseased, it reflects through the signs and symptoms. So ultimately, the human is diseased. The vital principle, soul means human is diseased. And once human is diseased, then there is the reflection of it through the signs and symptoms in the form of disease, to which we label as person is having such and such disease. So if disease lies at that specific level, the dynamic level, which you cannot see, which you cannot locate, which you cannot visualize, then it should be treated at the same level. Why he is explaining all those things? He is explaining all those things why it is necessary to treat the human being and not only his parts. If you understand the concepts clearly, then you will understand the treatment completely. And this is what he wants to explain over there. And what he further says, power resides at the center, and from center of power, the force flows. It is full question for 20 marks in the exams. This sentence explained in detail. And this specifically sentence defines whole homeopathy. Power resides at the center in the form of vital principle, and from the center of power, the force plays or force flows. So if life principle is there inside you at the center, because of which the force flows and because of which you are active, you are having animation, you are moving, you are doing whatever you are thinking. So everything is dependent upon this center of power, and this is too important to know. So these are things one should not forget. If you understand this sentence clearly, then you will understand where to treat and what to treat if the person is diseased. Then you will understand exactly, yes, you have to treat the center, you have to treat that specific power which resides at the center. So, concepts wise, this chapter gives you a lot. The phenomena of life as manifested in growth, the nutrition, the repair, the secretion, the excretion, the self recognition, self preservation, and the reproduction all take their directions from an originating center. So, from an originating center, all those functions of the life principle or life which are taking place. So, we know what are the functions of life. It is the growth, it is the nutrition, it is the repair, it is the self-recognition, it is secretion, it is excretion, it is self-preservation, and lastly the reproduction. All those are characteristic features. Then we say, yes, these are the characteristics of life. Then we define this is life. Cell wall, from the lowest cell to the highest and most complex organism, this principle holds true. So it works in the similar manner, even it is a singular cell organism or it is complex organism like a human being. Cell wall and protoplasmic content develop from the central nucleus and that from the centrosome, which is regarded as center of force in the cell. We have learned the cell in the first year in the chapter of in the physiology, the chapter cell. And we know the cell is controlled by the nucleus and nucleus is controlled by nucleolus, the centrosome. So whole functions are decided by that, and because of which that cell performs the function. So same thing, power resides at the center, and from the center of power, the force flows. All fluids, the tissues and organs develop from cell, from within outward, from center to circumference. See, every human being when develops, the development is from center to periphery. It is from singular cell, the ovum which is fertilized, and there is a singular cell, the stem cell. And from that cells, once the life principle enters over there, then further development of that fertilized egg starts. Then it starts developing, multiplying, and multiple cell develop. And then functions are decided, and every cell changes according to their functions given, and it takes their own specific special appearance and starts functioning accordingly. So it develops from the center to periphery. This is very important thing. If this is the state, in the similar manner, the everything in the human life is worked in the from center to periphery, and whenever the disease has to happen, it also happens from center to periphery. Once you understand this concept, then you will treat the patient at the center, not at the periphery. Organic control is from center. In the completely developed human organism, vital action is controlled from the central nervous system. The activities of the cell are controlled from the centrosome, from which may be called the brain of the cell. So see, every cell, whenever you take into consideration single cell, the functions of the cell are controlled from the centrosome. It is again from center. Everything of the human life is controlled by the central nervous system, which lies at the center, because of which it is possible to perform all functions, mental, the health, all the characteristics of life are performed through the nervous system. The central nervous system may be compared to a dynamo, as a dynamo is a machine driven by steam or some other force which, through the agency of electromagnetic induction from the surrounding magnetic field, converts electrical energy in the form of current mechanical energy expended upon it. So the nervous system, central nervous system, is a machine driven by the chemical force derived from the food, which through the agency of electrovital induction from surrounding vital fluid converts the vital energy in the form of nerve currents and or impulses, the chemico-physical energy expended upon it. See how clearly he has compared it with dynamo. Do you know dynamo? Dynamo is nothing but the battery. If you would have seen the bicycles earlier days, they had a dynamo over there, and there is a light focused over there on the front side, and it runs through that dynamo, and whenever the person who is doing a cycling, with the flow of that cycle, that dynamo got stimulated, and because of which the electrical energy gets regenerated over there and the front light starts. This is the dynamo. Or anywhere, if you are going to see the generators, what do they do? They do the same thing, what as he has explained. So it is from the surroundings that takes the energy in the form of some source of energy. For the dynamo, it might require kerosene, it might require diesel, it might require anything. In the similar manner, human being requires the food to develop the energy. He requires the oxygen from the surrounding. He requires the sun rays, and all those things gets converted and liberates the energy, and that energy is controlled through the central nervous system. If these basics are known, then you will understand. It is not only one thing which is creating a disorder in the human being. There are many factors comes together to develop and maintain the health. If there are many, then you can understand this is never causes from single cause. There are multiple factors which comes together in order to develop a disorder. So order gets converted into disorder, the ease gets converted into disease only because there are many factors comes together and then this develops, and which happens at the level of center. As an electrical transportation system depends for its working force upon the dynamo located in its central power station. So the human body, it depends for the force necessary to carry it on its operation upon the central power station located in the central nervous system. Any disturbance of the conditions at the central power station is immediately manifested externally at some point in the system, and any injury to or break in the external system is immediately reflected back to the central station. So this is the central nervous system. Everything is connected with the central nervous system. It is from the through the sensory nerves, the impulse goes directly to the brain, and from brain the motor reaction starts. So there is an action in the form of something, the sensations which goes carried to the brain immediately within the fraction of seconds. You just observe and it goes to your brain and you react. This is how it works. This is too important. If you understand this concept, then you will understand how the external things also takes part in the maintaining the health, at the same time developing the disease. It depends upon the how you react, how you adapt to the situation. So whatever the n number of things which acts upon you, it goes directly to your central nervous system. How it adapts, how it works, how it reacts accordingly, whether to maintain the state of health or whether to develop a disease. It depends upon there. So main function of your life principle, of your vital force, is preservation of health. So as far as possible, it tries to maintain that balance. It maintains that harmony, and because of which you are preserved from the diseases. So even though many factors are working on you, many factors producing, developing on, acting on you, you never develops every time and disease. But sometimes external factors are so strong that they affects you, and once they affects you at specific level, then the reaction is diseased. If the vital force is diseased, if the vital principle is diseased, then the reaction develops over there in the form of some disharmony, and it is reflected through the sensations and function. In health and disease, it is the same, both being essentially merely the conditions of life in the living organism, convertible each into other. In each condition, the modifying agent or factor acts primarily upon the internal life principle, which is living substance of the organism. This reacts and produces external phenomenon through the medium. This reacts and produces external phenomena through the medium of brain and nervous system, which extends to every part of the body. Food or poison, toxins or antitoxins, therapeutic agents or pathogenic microorganisms all act upon the and by the virtue of existence of the reacting life principle and living substance of the organism. So here he comes and explains exactly the state of health, the state of disease, and state of cure. This life principle, till it maintains its harmony, till it reacts in an adaptive manner, the health is preserved. You are no more diseased, and because of which you remains in the state of health, even though the things goes inimical to your life. But once if they are more stronger than your vital principle, then your vital force itself gets diseased. And once it is diseased, there is no chance of recovered. That vital force gets recovered by itself. Then it starts producing disharmony, and which starts producing signs and symptoms, and we label as this patient is diseased. Here again, whole thing depends upon only one law, that is called as law of reciprocal action. Actions and reactions are equal and opposite as explained by Newton as a third law of energy. And this is what maintains your health, this is what creates the disease, and this is what works when you treat the patient with the help of homeopathy on the basis of law of similar. And he explains over their last sentence that food or poison, toxins or antitoxins, therapeutic agents and pathogenic microorganisms all acts and upon and by the virtue of existence of reacting like principle and living substance of the organism. So these are all things which works on the basis of action and reaction. The action is there, which has been entered in your central nervous system. The reaction is developed right from there, and you react to the situation. Cure of disease or the restoration of health likewise begins at the center and spreads outwardly. The symptoms disappearing from within outward, from above downward, and in the reverse order of their appearance. So everything it develops right from center. So if health has to be maintained, it is through the center. If disease has to happen, it is through the center. And if cure has to happen, it is in the same manner. And that's why the Hering's law of direction of cure, which is very, very important to understand, it starts right from above downwards, from center to periphery, from the organs of greater importance to the organs of lesser importance. and in the reverse order of appearance of their symptoms. So this is what is called as Hering's law of direction of cure. I think it's better to stop over here, because next points which are essential to be understood, we will concentrate on them next time. We have to understand those very important points in tomorrow's session. This chapter is basically a chapter where we have to understand many things. And once you understand these three important entities, then you will know what to treat in the patient. So for that purpose, I'm taking all those details, and we have to understand all those in detail over there. So thank you, and we'll meet today with one more short remedy at 8:15. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Have a good evening.